Hello there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Samantha and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Anyway, today I'm coming to you with a very exciting video. It is a video that I love to film every single year, and every single year I am late to the party. I post it way too late every year. But this year I am on top of things. I am filming this video in May, so I'm actually early, although I won't be posting this until, well, you know when I've posted it. So I'm a little bit early filming, but I will be on time posting this year. I'm very excited about that. I'm so proud of myself. I don't think I've ever posted this video on time. Anyway, today I'm doing the mid-year book freakout tag. This is basically a mid-year tag where you talk about how your reading's going so far. We talk about my favorite books, my biggest disappointments, the books I'm looking forward to, the books I still need to read that I haven't read yet, and all of that good stuff. It's a very fun tag. I love doing it every single year. I think I've done it every year since 2016, I want to say. So I can link my previous ones down below if you're interested. I am just very excited to be doing this tag and actually doing it on time. I'm so proud of myself. There are basically 16 questions all about my reading so far, and it's gonna be a grand old time. So let's get into it with question number 1, the best book you've read so far this year. And the best book that I've read this year so far, by far, is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. This is not the last time you're going to hear about this book in this video, and I'm sorry about that. And I'm also sorry to, add to the hype, but like, this book deserves all of the hype it gets, or all the hype it got last year, because I feel like people don't talk about it as much anymore. But yes, I read this book in January, and I adored it. Oh my goodness. This book is phenomenal. If you don't know, somehow, this book basically follows our main character, Elizabeth Zott, and she is a chemist. And basically this book is set in the 1960s, I believe, 1950s or 60s, around that time. And so she is not accepted in her field. Nobody takes her seriously. They all think that, she couldn't possibly be a chemist. She's an assistant. She is not a real scientist, They do not take her seriously. It is horrible. The misogyny, horrific. But yes, due to a series of events, she ends up losing her job at the lab where she was working, and she somehow gets this opportunity to start hosting an afternoon cooking show. And she basically uses her cooking show as a platform to not only empower women, but also to teach housewives science. She uses her knowledge to teach women about science, about empowering themselves and standing up for themselves, and it is such a wonderful book. Oh my goodness. This book is phenomenal. It covers so many heavy, difficult topics, but at no point in the book do you really feel hopeless. Like, there's so much hope and joy in the book, even though so much bad stuff happens. Like, I'm obviously not saying all of it is joyful, because some of it really is not. It is definitely a difficult read at times, but still, Elizabeth Zott somehow seems to always have this positive attitude, and it's just a beautiful book. It's wonderful. There's a point of view from a dog. Like, what more do you need? I really need to buy it because I don't own it. I borrowed it from the library, but this is a book that I know I'll be rereading and recommending for many years to come because it is fantastic. I loved it so much. That is the best book I've read so far this year. I don't know what's going to top it, but we'll see. The next question is the best sequel that you've read. And I have not really read that many sequels this year, but what I have done is I have accidentally read the second book in a series multiple times, because they've mainly been romance series where it doesn't actually matter if you read them out of order, but essentially my friend recommended the book to me and I was like, okay, that sounds cool. And then I go into Goodreads after I've already borrowed it from the library and I'm like, oh, this is the second book in the series, but doesn't matter to me. But anyway, this is actually a book where I did read the first book as well, but I did read it after the fact. However, I think the sequel is better. Anyway, that book is X's and O's by Amy Lee. This is a romance book, which is basically a close proximity romance between two roommates, because essentially our main character, Tara, has split up from her fiance, and she was living with her sister, but now she's actually moved in with her sister's fiance's roommate because her sister's moving in with her fiance, so she wants her sister out. So yes, Tara ends up moving in with Trevor, who is a fireman. She, feels quite an attraction there, but she's like, no, we're roommates. It's not gonna happen. And also she is starting to embark upon looking into her exes to try and have a second chance romance because she really loves books and romance books specifically. So she is kind of going into the different tropes and she wants to try a second chance romance. So she starts going through her exes, trying trying to find one to date. Meanwhile, she's growing closer and closer to Trevor. And this book was so cute and fun. It was very cheesy, like it borders on too cheesy, but for me, it was just the right level of cheese. Like it was almost too much, but just the right level. And I feel like it was better than the first book, in my opinion. So yeah, I would say that's my favorite sequel that I've read so far this year. The next question is your favorite reread, and my favorite reread this year has been Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And actually, this one I enjoyed a lot more than the first time I read it. The first time I read this book, I gave it 3.5 stars, I think. I just didn't really care about Billy and Daisy, and I still maintain the fact that I don't care about their story as much as the other characters, but this time around, I did actually care about them. And I just loved this book this time around. I had not a fun time with it because it's not that fun, but I just really loved it. I loved reading about how passionate they all were about the music that they're making. It felt a lot more atmospheric to me this time. I don't know what it was when I first read it, but this time around I loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars and I had such a great time with it. The next question is a genre you've been loving or reading the most of. And I would have to say I have been giving romance a lot more of a chance this year. I typically don't read that much romance, but now I feel like I'm reading at least one romance book a month, if not more. Ever since I posted my romance reading vlog back in February, because basically I did a reading vlog for Valentine's Day, trying to become a romance girly, and I read 3 romance books. And ever since then, I've really been in the romance zone. I think it also helps that my library has quite a good selection of romance, so I can always pick one up, and then if I don't like it, I DNF it. I don't want to read it all the time because they are very similar. Like, you just kind of change out the tropes a little bit. You kind of always know where the story's gonna go, but sometimes that's nice because, you know, you don't have to worry about anything surprising or shocking. So yeah, I've definitely been enjoying romance this year a lot. The next question is new release you haven't read yet but want to. So I have a few. One is The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. I haven't read Sarah Penner's first book, which I forgot what it is. The Lost Apothecary. That's still on my list. I haven't read it yet, but this is like a historical mystery and I think I'd like that sort of vibe. I'm interested in that one. Sorry if the angle has changed at all, but my camera battery just died. And then the next one I had was Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. I don't really remember what this one is about. I've also never read a book by Curtis Sittenfeld and I've heard good things, but I saw this book at the library. I read The Dust Jacket and I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. So I put a hold on it. So I will be reading this at some point. And then the other one I have is Georgie All Along by Kate Claiborne. Again, I don't really know what this one is about. I'm pretty sure it's Friends to Lovers, and I know that Mel loved it, so I hope I will too. And then the other one I've got is The Shadow of Perseus by Claire Haywood. I recently read, well, I say recently, it was in January, I read Daughters of Sparta by Claire Haywood and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I'm excited to read more books by her and more Greek mythology stuff. Although I have a book that I need to prioritize over that, which I will get to in a few questions. And then the next question is similar to the last one, except these are the releases that haven't come out yet. And so this is your most anticipated release for the rest of the year. And I have a few, which I didn't even know about until I went on to Goodreads just now to look at new releases that are coming out. But my number one is probably Beyond the Clouds Volume 5 by Nick. This is the 5th book in the Beyond the Clouds series, which is a manga series, which is absolutely adorable. I read the first book in April and I loved that book so much. I actually have not enjoyed the rest of the series as much, but the first one I adore and I'm still really looking forward to the 5th one, and I think it's also going to be the last one. So I'm excited, but I'm also sad because I don't want it to end, but at the same time it does need to end. Anyway, and then one that I just found today, which I didn't even know was coming out, is called Persephone Made Me Do It. This is by Trista Matier. I read her poetry collection Aphrodite Made Me Do It, and I love that poetry collection. I think it's so beautiful. I love the concept of like writing to Aphrodite, and then obviously this is going to be like Persephone, and yeah, I loved that one so much. I haven't read it since I read it the first time, but it's a poetry collection and it just, I really resonated with it at the time. It has a gorgeous cover, and this one also has a gorgeous cover. Like, I think I need to buy these because I don't own enough poetry and I love poetry. I haven't read any actually this year. Another one that I just found out about is called Woke Up Like This by Amy Lee, who wrote X's and O's, which I already talked about. But this story is basically like a 13 going on 30 type of story, except they're 17 and then they wake up 30 years old, and it's not just her, it's also like this jock from her high school who turns out to be her fiance. I'm excited for this one. I didn't even know that this was a thing, and now I'm like, okay, I really need to read this. That's coming out in September. Well, expected September, so hopefully it actually does, because that sounds really fun. And then the other one is another romance, and this one is called Business or Pleasure by Rachel Lynn Solomon, who wrote The X Talk, which I really enjoyed. I haven't actually read anything else by her yet, but yeah, I really enjoyed The X Talk, and this one sounds fun. It's about like this one night stand gone wrong, and then it kind of turns into sort of a deal that they have going on. They basically strike up a deal to improve the gentleman's sexual performance, which I think is really funny. So yeah, I'm excited to read that one. That sounds fun. The next question is biggest disappointments, and I am so sad to talk about this one, but my biggest disappointment this year is going to be byeeee by R.F. Kuang. I was really excited about byeeee because of the premise of it being like a fantasy book where the magic system is sort of based on translation, because translation is actually something that I'm interested in going into. I did a little bit of translation at university and I'm just very interested in that field. So I thought it was going to be amazing, and I thought it was so boring. I just did not enjoy the book at all. I thought it had good atmosphere, the writing was good, but the actual plot itself was so boring. So yeah, unfortunately that book was not for me. I just had very high expectations and then it just really fell flat for me, unfortunately. And then the next question is your biggest surprise. For this one, it's got to be Beyond the Clouds Volume 1 by Nick. Obviously I already mentioned this, but this book I just picked up on a complete whim. Somebody returned it at the library and I happened to be the one who scanned the book, and I saw the cover and it was so cute and colorful and just looked really sweet. So I was like, okay, let me read what this book is about. And it is just the most wholesome, precious story. It's like having a warm hug from a friend or a loved one. It's a hug in a book. It's so wholesome, whimsical, beautiful, magical. I love it. I love the first volume. The rest of the series I did not enjoy as much, but I still enjoyed it overall. And yeah, the first volume is amazing. It's basically about this guy called Theo, and one day he finds this little girl called Mia who has fallen from the sky, and she has wings, but she's missing a wing, and she doesn't know how she got there. She doesn't know anything about her past. All she knows is her name, and they're trying to kind of figure it out, and Theo kind of has to go on these adventures, which he's always wanted to go on because he's always loved stories, but he's never been able to go on them before, and now he has to take care of Mia. And it's just like the cutest found family, whimsical, beautiful, magical story. I love it so much. That one was a big surprise because, like I said, I just picked it up on a total whim and I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, and it was so cute. The next question is a favorite new author, and I have to say the only one that really stands out to me is Bonnie Garmus, because Lessons in Chemistry has had such a lasting impact on me. Like, I still think about that book all the time, and that's the only book I can say this year where that's happened. And to think that that's her debut, like, it was so amazing, and I need her to write some more books because I love Lessons in Chemistry so much. The next question is newest fictional crush or favorite fictional couple, and I'm not going to answer the fictional crush part because I don't get crushes on fictional characters anymore, but my favorite fictional couple is going to be Tara and Trevor from X's and O's. I have to say I think that they have been the couple that I've read that have had the most chemistry out of all of the romance books that I've read this year. I thought their romance was the cutest. I enjoyed it the most. So yes, that one. Question number 11 is newest favorite character. Again, I could say any of the characters from Lessons in Chemistry. Well, any of the characters that we're supposed to like in Lessons in Chemistry. You know, specifically 630, Mad, Elizabeth Zott, love them all. But we're gonna switch gears and I'm gonna say something else. And I have to say Marks from Tomorrow. Marks is by far my favorite character from that book. I don't actually like Sam and Sadie that much, but Marks was just a standout character to me. He has just got so much love in him and he is a wonderful character. I love him. Question number 12 is a book that made you cry. And I have not actually cried in any book this year yet. I'm sure it will happen at some point, but I haven't done it yet. But I almost cried when I was reading Tomorrow. Also Lessons in Chemistry. And then the actual book that brought me closest to tears was the Happy Ever After playlist, which you wouldn't think so because it's a romance, but the book starts off with our main character Sloane grieving the death of her fiance, and he died in a motorcycle accident, and it just hit too close to home for me and I nearly cried. But yes, I really enjoyed that book as well, actually. Anyway, moving on to the opposite of that, a book that made you happy. And again, I have a few. I've already mentioned Lessons in Chemistry, Beyond the Clouds, and X's and O's. Those ones definitely made me happy. But a different one that I have is I'll Be There For You, the one about friends. I can't remember the author's name. I'm blanking on that, but the cover will be here. This is, as you can gather, a book about Friends, the TV show, which I love. I grew up with Friends. I started watching it when I was probably like 11, and I used to watch it every day after school. school, and then when it came onto Netflix, I watched it all the way through. I love Friends. It is like a comfort show to me, and this book really examined sort of why it's so comforting to people, which I think was really interesting. It talks about like how it's still popular, how the show came to be, how the actors got discovered and chosen for the show, and I just found it really interesting, and it brought a new perspective to me when I rewatched the show. Yeah, I really loved this one. I thought it was a very solid read, and great if you like Friends, which I do. I really enjoyed that one, and it did make me happy because I just, you know, I was thinking about Friends, and it was just a grand old time. The next question is the most beautiful book that you've bought this year, and I haven't actually bought any books, but the question is technically bought or received, but I would just like to toot my own horn. I haven't bought any books this year. Working in a library is really saving my bank account. Anyway, but I have 2 books for this. These are 2 books that I actually got from the library, which they were getting rid of, so I took them home. The first one that I have is called The Beauty of the Wolf by Ray Delaney. It is so stunning. I really like the gold foil and the green and all the vines. Very nice. Apparently this book is actually not very good. It has very low ratings, like less than 3 stars on Goodreads, which is almost unheard of, but I'm interested in it, mainly because of the cover being so gorgeous. And actually, Ray Delaney is the pen name of Sally Gardner, who is a children's novelist. So yeah, I'm still curious to read it, but nervous at the same time because of those bad reviews, but we cannot deny that that cover is so pretty. But I think actually the most beautiful cover has got to go to The Graves of Whitechapel by Claire Evans. Can we please just appreciate the gorgeous foiling and the flowers and the skulls? It is gorgeous, and I am obsessed with this cover. Still need to read the book, but I think the cover is pretty, so I won't be getting rid of it anytime soon. The penultimate question is books you need to read by the end of the year, and I have plenty, but I've just chosen a few. I mean, ideally I would like to get my physical TBR down to 10. That is my goal for the year. I don't know if that's going to happen because I've been really bad about actually reading my TBR, and I've mainly been reading from the library. If I could get my TBR down to 10, I would love that. But I am going to plan to prioritize a few things. So first things first, I would love to read the books that were given to me. I received a few books for Christmas last year and I have not read them yet. So the first one I've got is Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. One of my brothers-in-law, or I guess brothers-in-law to be, because I'm not actually married yet, but one of my brothers-in-law, he got me this book for Christmas. Either Christmas or my birthday, I don't really know. He gave it to me on Christmas, but my birthday is 2 days before, so it could be for either. But this is Medusa's story, and I'm very excited to read it. I'm not always in the mood for Greek retellings, so I feel like I need to be in the mood for it. But I definitely want to read this before the end of the year because it was given to me. And the other one is actually 3 books, but I've just got the first one to show you. But that is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I've just heard so many amazing things about this series. I actually originally thought it was going to be a trilogy, and my mom's boyfriend very kindly got me the 3 books that are out at the moment for Christmas, but turns out there is actually going to be at least one other book. But I do have the 3 books that are out, which I thought was the whole trilogy, but there are going to be more. But anyway, if I could read those 3 books, I would be super happy with that. And then apart from those books that were given to me, I do have 2 books which I have said so many times that I'm going to read, so I absolutely have to read them this year. The first one is I would love to finish the Mistborn trilogy, just the original trilogy. I know that there's also like a sequel trilogy, but yeah, this is the second book, The Well of Ascension, which I am actually currently reading. I started it in May, but I did not make that much progress. I would love to finish this one and then also read the 3rd book in the trilogy, and then I must start the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin because I bought this in 2020 and I've said since 2020 I'm gonna read it this year, and then next year I'm gonna read it this year, next year I'm gonna read it this year, and this is the year I have to read it this year, otherwise I'm going to be so mad at myself. But yes, definitely these 2, and then those other 2 books that I talked about before. Those are the books that I absolutely have to read this year. If not, I'm gonna be so mad at myself. And the last question is one that I don't think I've actually answered before because I think I normally forget to do this one, but it is your favorite video or post that you've done so far this year. And I have to say my favorite video is a video which I think is massively underrated. Not enough people watched it, and I think they should have because I put a lot of work into that video, and also I was so happy with how it turned out. I really loved how it was kind of a balance of like kind of a lifestyle vlog and kind of a reading vlog, but that was my romance reading vlog that I did in February or March. I can't remember when I exactly posted it, but I was filming it in February. But yeah, I was just so happy with the way that that turned out. I really wanted to work on themed reading vlogs this year, and that was like the first one I did, and I was so proud of that one. So I would love it if you haven't watched it. If you want to go watch it now, it's my favorite video that I've made so far this year, and I love it. So yeah, go check that one out. But anyway, those are all of the questions for the mid-year book freakout tag, which I'm actually posting on time this year. Round of applause for me. Thank you. But that is all that I have for this video, so I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below, and don't forget to leave me a comment with some of your answers to these questions down below. Primarily, let me know your favorite book of the year so far, your biggest disappointments, and also what books you're looking forward to that haven't come out yet. I would love to know. And then if you did make it all the way to the end of this video, please leave a snake emoji down below for stone blind, and then I'll know that you made it all the way to the end. But that is all that I have, so I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye!
You in the backyard of your old farm in the summer. Stay there for 3 weeks where we learn to love each other. Wrote you letters, sent a message to the that day. Skip to the present.